We're going to move on and use the grouping method to also factor trinomials. And so we're going to have the same setup today. It's going to be with the steps as we do the first example, and then we'll use these steps throughout. So the first thing that you want to do is you want to make sure that all terms are on the same side. Most things will look like this, and they'll say equals 0. If this doesn't say equals 0 and say the 3 was over here, you'd want to move the 3. But to start, most of the ones that you will see will have everything on the same side. You'll notice I can't use grouping here right away because there's only 3 terms. And remember, to group, you need 4 terms right away. So this time we're going to have to use a different method. It's called the AC method. So step 1 is going to be list all factors of A times C and their sums. So what we're going to do is we're going to make this little X over here. We call this the diamond. So A times C in a standard form trinomial, which looks like this, it is ax squared plus bx plus c. So the number in front of the x squared term is your a, and the constant is your c. So in this case, our a is a 1, and our 3 is a c, or our c is 3. So if I were to do 1 times 3, I need things that multiply to 3. So I need them to multiply to 3 in my diamond. So if I were to come over here and say, okay, what are factors of 3? My factors are just 1 and 3. Then step 2 is to find the pair that adds to B. Well, now that we know this is A and C, B is here, B is 4. So I want them to add to positive 4. So what I need to figure out is factors of 3 that add to 4. Well, the only factors are 1 and 3. So they can have these signs. They can both be positive. They can both be negative. One can be positive, one can be negative, or one negative and one positive. So we'll make our list. So if I need to multiply to a positive 3 and add to a negative 4, well, I can go down my list. 1 times 3 is 3. 1 plus 3 is 4. Boom, I got it right away. So these don't matter. So I would have a 1 and a 3. So now the third thing is to split the middle term into the 2 factors. So my middle term is this 4r. And the factors we chose were 1 and 3. So I'm going to split this into 1r and 3r. And we chose a positive 1 and a positive 3. And our last step is going to be to factor by grouping. Well, if you remember, factor by grouping, we needed 4 terms. Well, I just split this into 2, and I still have this plus 3 here, and I still have this 1r squared here. So now if I look, I have 1, 2, 3, 4 terms. So this is just like lesson 21. So that means now I can group my first 2 and group my second 2 and start to find their GCFs. So factors of 1 are 1 and 1, r and r, 1 and 1, and r again. So my number in common is 1, and my letter is only 1r because this has 2 and that has 1. So I put my 1r outside, and I look at my stuff, what's left? A 1r is left, and a positive 1 is left. Right? 1r here and just a 1 here. And I'll do it with the 3. 1 and 3, and R, and 1 and 3. So my GCF, my biggest number, is 3, and I don't have letters, so I just have a 3 here, and I fill in what's left, and if I look, 1R is left here, and a 1 is left here. So now, all I have to do is write my parentheses. So my 2 for 1 special was 1R plus 1. And remember, the stuff that was on the outside goes into the second one. So that's 1R plus 3. So here is my factored form of this trinomial. Okay, we're going to do example 2. So first one, make sure they're on the same side. They are. Step 1, list all factors of A times C. So I do 3 times negative 10, which is 30. So I'm just going to say 30. So I need things that multiply to a negative 30 and things that add to negative 29. So we're going to list the factors of 30. So I have 1 and 30, 2 and 15, 3 and 10, and 5 and 6. I need them to get me 29. If I add 5 and 6, I get 11. If I do 6 minus 5, I get 1. That's never going to work. 10 and 3 gets me 13, or 10 minus 3 gets me 7, so nope. 15 minus 2 is 13. 15 plus 2 is 17. 30 plus 1 is 31, but 30 minus 1 is 29. Okay, so it's definitely this pair. So now I just do, okay, are they both positive? Are they both negative? Is this one positive and this one negative, or the opposite? And so you would check in your calculator. So if I do 1 plus 30, that doesn't get me 29. Negative 1 and negative 30 gets me negative 31. Negative 1 and positive 30 gets me positive 29, but I need negative. Positive 1 and negative 30, that's what gets me negative 29. So I have a 1 and I have a negative 30. So now that I figured them out, I can replace them. So instead of negative 29b, I'm going to have positive 1b, and I'm going to have a negative 30b. And the negative 10 is going to come down. The 3b squared is going to come down. And now I have 4 terms, and I can group. So my first 2 and my 3 and 4. Okay, let's do our factors. 1 and 3, b and b. 1 and 1, and b. Okay, remember this one's negative, so that's going to be that trick like the last video. So this is 1 and 30, 3 and 10, 5 and 6, and 1 and 10. Oh, and this one has a b. Okay, so let's find the greatest common factor. So I have 1, 1, and then a b and a v. So this one is 1b, and let's see what's left. 3 b's plus 1. Okay, let's do the second one. Well, the biggest thing is 10, so that's gone, that's gone. So I have 10, but remember it has to be a negative because that was a negative. So now what's left? 3b, and now this was a negative, so it turns positive, and a 1. I got my 2 for 1 special. So my answer is my 2 for 1 special, 3b plus 1, and then remember it's our GCFs, so 1b minus 10. Okay, and I'm actually only going to do one more because I think that'll be sufficient for you. Okay, so we're going to start again. So we have to do a times c, 5 times 6. Oh, look at that. We get 30 again. So this one's going to be not so bad because we kind of already did it with 30. This time they have to multiply to positive 30, and they have to add to a positive 11. Okay, so now if I think about the factors of 30, 1 and 30, 2 and 15, 3 and 10, and 5 and 6, you definitely know that these ones are too big. 30 and 31, that's too big. I need 11. This is 13 if I subtract. This is 7. and then 13. And here, if I subtract, it's 1, but if I add, it's 11. So I want 5 and 6. So the question is, do I want both positives, both negatives, 1 negative and 1 positive, or 1 positive and 1 negative? And if you try all the options in your calculator, you get lucky because 5 plus 6 is 11. So I automatically use the first one. So now I come over here and I remember I used these to split that middle term. So this is going to become positive 5n and positive 6n. This positive 6 is going to stay here, and this 5n squared is going to stay here. Okay, and now I'm going to group them. And it's nice because everything's positive. Factors of 5 are 1 and 5. That's it, and n. 1 and 5 and n. So this one's pretty easy. My biggest is 5, and I can circle 1n on each. So I have 5n on the outside. 5 divided by 5 is 1. 2 n's, and I took out 1 n, so I have an n, which is why I have 1 n left right here, right? And here I have 1, so 5 divided by 5 is 1. And n, so I don't need an n. Okay, let's go to 6. 1 and 6, 2 and 3, and n. 1 and 6, 2 and 3. Yes, they share everything, but 6 is the biggest, and no n because this one doesn't have one. So a 6 is my greatest common factor here. So 2 and 3 I can cross off. So what do I have left? I have left 1n on this one plus 1 over here. Because 6 divided by 6 is 1, and 6 divided by 6 is 1. I got my 2 for 1 special, so I write that once, 1n plus 1, and then everything that's on the outside, 5n plus 6, comes into the second factor, and there's my answer, 1n plus 1 times 5n plus 6.